Hold on a minute. I just need to make sure I can access my old tech brain. Wow, it feels weird to be doing a video like this after so long. What's up, Foxton Fox here? Today we are talking about The Outer Worlds on the Nintendo Switch versus the PC. Now, before I get 7 million comments telling me that yes, the Nintendo Switch is obviously worse than PC, I want to say that that's not really the point of this whole video. I want to talk about some of the performance on both of them, what I recommend, and how much I've been enjoying Outer Worlds in general. So, first things first, with the Nintendo Switch, I've been doing a Let's Play of it, but I also been playing it so much on my own, and it runs just as you'd expect. The Outer Worlds on the Switch runs at 720p when it's in handheld mode, as compared to 1080p when it's in docked mode. Of course, targeting 30 FPS. And I'd say, generally speaking, you do end up getting 30 FPS most of the time. The only real frame dips I've had is when I am entering very busy zones. Not even Groundbreaker really did anything to it, but once I got deeper into the game, I don't want to spoil it, and you're fighting a lot of enemies at one time, and you have a lot of particle effects running in the air, then yeah, you're going to have some serious frame hitching, which was a little bit of a disappointment because the rest of the game ran so well. But because of the way Outer Worlds works, I don't feel terrible even when I get those giant frame hitches, because yeah, the gunplay, first of all, is fantastic in Outer Worlds, and it's one of the reasons why it's quickly become one of my favorite RPGs. But also, the gunplay is very simplistic, and because of that, it also lends very well to, if there are a few frame hitches here and there, it isn't the end of the world. And granted, that is only in very serious situations. Most of the time, the Switch runs fine on it. And as for PC performance, well, I actually am quite surprised. My laptop does not do fantastic anymore. It's got an RTX 2070 Super Max Q in it, an i7 10875H, and these components, being trapped in their cage as they are, don't perform as well as you'd expect them to. The 2070 Max Q performs about the equivalent of a GTX 1080, maybe a 1070 Ti, and I have an ultra-wide monitor, so pushing it, the Outer Worlds at 3440 by 1440, I had to make some sacrifices in order to get a close to 60 FPS average, but generally speaking, even still, Outer Worlds is so good because of its visuals. Before I get into the visuals, I do want to say that if you do have something like mine, for instance, if you do have a GTX 1080, or for some reason an RTX 2070 Max Q laptop, which to like my one viewer who has that, how you doing? It actually did run at ultra at 3440 by 1440, just not with the frame rate that I personally like, but if you're okay with a 30 to 40 FPS average, then that's perfectly fine. When I dropped the settings down to high, I got a much more consistent mid-50s, and it still was good enough for me to be able to sit through. Granted, I've also been playing it on the Nintendo Switch, so take that as it will. Now, before I say go out of your way and get it on PC because the visuals are obviously so much better, I actually am almost in the opposite direction. Yeah, playing it on PC has stunning visuals, but because of Outer Worlds' art style and the RPG mechanics working really well in 30 FPS, I have to say, there are stipulations to what I'm about to say, and you have to stay a little bit longer just to get them, but I would generally recommend picking up the Outer Worlds on the Switch instead of the PC, which is sacrilegious of me to say, because I'm a PC gamer at heart, but I've been playing it on the Switch, and I gotta say, portability is fantastic if you just want to play a side mission in the middle of classes, in between classes, or what I do is I play it in docked mode, or when I'm in bed. And even though it's 30 FPS and on settings lower than you can even achieve on PC, the game still is so incredibly immersive with its art style. I have no issues. Yeah, there are absolutely problems with pop-in in it. The shadows pop in when they're maybe like 3 feet in front of you, but even still, because of the stylized art and because the team who worked on the Outer Worlds port to the Switch were very, very competent and knew what they were doing, it is a fantastic port. Because if you look close at things in the game, they're going to not look fantastic. That's just how it is on the Switch. But this is sort of what's important to not just this game, but games in general. One of the best comparisons that I have is a game that I think is one of the best graphics games of all time, Gears 5. Because the character models look fantastic in that game, and The overall experience and look of the game is beautiful in terms of graphical design. But Gears 5's main target was for the Xbox One X, because that was the only one that was out at the time, and that also included the Xbox One. So I wish that we could have had more computing power at the time to see what could have been done on Unreal Engine 4, because the moment you look at something very closely in Gears 5 is the moment it starts to fall apart a little bit. The general scope of the game is absolutely phenomenal, and generally speaking, textures are good, but sometimes, especially in some cutscenes that show like really far view distances, even with everything on Ultra, you can tell when it turns into a JPEG image. So that's why it's a little bit iffy for me, and that's kind of the same with Outer Worlds, because the overall image looks fantastic, and because character models look fantastic, even on the Switch, that's what I'm saying, like not even just on PC, but seriously on the Switch, character models still look great. Lighting needs to be take it or leave it. I love how beautiful the colors are, and that I think is what matters more than lighting in this case. I just say it looks good enough on the Switch for a PC gamer who always worries about ultra settings to be like, yeah, this is serviceable. So here's the thing. This is my stipulation. It's on Game Pass. So if you have an Xbox or you have a PC, then I would generally just recommend, unless you are somebody who plays the Switch more than PC, just get it on the PC. But for everybody else, if you have a Switch and you're considering buying it on the PS5, or if you don't have Game Pass, then I would recommend getting it on the Switch. I think that the Switch is not just a serviceable port, but a fantastic port. One of the best Switch ports I've ever played. I got 2 games at GameStop. I got Outer Worlds and 2K. And 2K is a horrible port, which I want to do a video on at some point, because the graphics are just awful. And seeing the Outer Worlds be such a beautiful game on the Switch is actually a very impressive feat, and I would recommend getting it on the Switch. Now, I know this review is about, 3 years late after the Outer Worlds came out, but I figured there's DLC out now, and maybe you want to pick something up because the Outer Worlds is at a drastically reduced price. I got it at GameStop new for $20, so I think that's kind of the going price. And the beautiful thing too, I haven't even talked about this. I know I'm kind of like blowing smoke up the Switch's ass, so you'll have to excuse me, because there are some things about the Switch that just make it so easy to use and kind of admirable because of it. But the fact that you can literally just pop in a cartridge, there is an update, but it isn't mandatory to play the game. Granted, 2K22 isn't like that. I needed a 46 gig update, which took me 2 days to download because the Switch's Wi-Fi is terrible. So yeah, there are absolutely flaws with the Switch. I'm never going to say that there aren't, but I think that in general, Outer Worlds for $20, you get the cartridge, you get the physical copy, you plug it in and you play. You don't have to worry about downloads if your internet's slow, and it's just a fantastic port. I would recommend getting it on the Switch. I'd recommend getting it on PC. I love the Outer Worlds so much. And this is kind of like the wrap-up section. So if you're not curious about my personal life, I understand. But please consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. Now, for the rest of you who are going to stay, I just want to say that the Outer Worlds, I have, let's see how many. I have one main game on the Switch. I have one game that I'm doing for YouTube on the Switch. And now I have a new game on the PC. And I don't know how I have slept on the Outer Worlds for so unbelievably long, because I've had it in my library since it came out. It came out on Game Pass, I think, on launch day, and I played it for the Let's Play channel, and I never touched it after that for 3 years, and now here I am, and it's a game that has absorbed me more than most games have recently. I did not expect when I picked up Outer Worlds to love it so much. I had a little bit of an inkling to get it on the Switch one day, so I went to GameStop. I ended up getting a quite nice haul, and I was like, all right, we'll just play it and see what happens, because worst comes to worst, you can sell cartridges for the same price you bought them most of the time on Nintendo Switch. And I picked it up and I played it, and oh my god, it's beautiful. I love it so much, and I'm so happy that there are so many different choices. All 3 of my playthroughs feel brand new because of how many choices there are. So I really love the game, and I recommend it on the Switch, and I recommend it on the PC. Above all, I recommend just playing the Outer Worlds. It's a pretty damn good game. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, like, subscribe, do what you usually do, and as always, buy yourself something nice.